So this man is insane, right? Right. Here is a guy who's running $6 billion companies, is married, has 11 kids, is insanely good at what he does, and single-handedly builds multi-billion-dollar companies multiple times, and it's becoming a legacy. In now, it's no longer a joke to talk about Elon Musk as someone who can do the impossible. Anything you say about him has already been said, so I don't want to sound trivialize any of that because I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of these things. Most recently, outside of the political, whatever assistance he's giving to Trump and so on, as a presidential candidate, but outside of that, just looking at what he's doing in business, what he's doing in the industry, absolutely greenfield, unknown, impossible stuff, and then he'll go out and turn it around like child's play, including grabbing that 250-ton flying object that was coming down for the reusable rocket, which he had to, he managed to uh, build a machine that would capture it, hold on to it, and then, you know, completely laid a new milestone in space engineering. And this is just one of the things he's done. And then, if you saw those interviews, he was saying, yeah, there's a great possibility that it'll fail, but I want to try it anyway. Now, there's another very interesting story that I want to say here before we get into the few slides that I want to share. Number one is there's an interesting story recently I read about what he did while he was acquiring Twitter. He picked up Twitter and privatized it for about by paying about $43 billion or so. And at that time, he, I think, managed to get rid of about 80% of the Twitter staff, and it's still working fine. So the question really is, oh, what was going on? Because if a company can do very well, we don't know really exactly how well now because it's not really public. But the fact that it's still running and most services are not impacted after the initial few glitches, and then he created an alternate service subscription model. You know, he managed to bring scale down the team size by 80%, and still everything is working well. Here's a very interesting story that happened. Recently, I picked it up on Twitter, which I thought I should share with you. You know, at the time that the acquisition was going on, and I think it had already happened, and he was trying to assess the size of the engineering team required and the various, you know, the investment that were running and the OpEx that was going on. In one of the engineering meetings, he was told that they actually had three large-scale data centers currently operational for Twitter. So he came back and he said, look, I don't know if we really need all three. Maybe we just need one. And then the engineering team in unison challenged him and said, no, we can't do that. Then he insisted that he needs just one. And then he asked them, how long will it take for you guys to scale it back to one server farm instead of three? And then they said it'll be 6 months. He listened to the whole thing and he said, look, I can give it to you. I think we should do it in 6 weeks. They said, no, this is not possible, and stuff like that. And then he came back and said, look, I want it done in 6 days, not even 6 weeks. And he gave him some reason why. And later that day, they were flying. This was actually December 23rd, I believe it's 2022, 2 days before Christmas, and they were in this private aircraft. They were going back to Dallas from San Francisco. And with him were two of his younger cousins who were also engineers. And on the plane, one of them said, look, if we're going to pull the plug anyway, why even wait for 6 days? Why don't we just, do it ourselves? And why not do it now? He said, hey, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. And he told the pilot to turn the plane around and flew back to San Francisco, where the server farms were. They went straight to the server farm. And of course, it was Christmas, one day before Christmas, 2 days before Christmas. There was nobody there. There was a security guard who would not let them in. And he made the necessary phone calls. He got the gate open. He went inside. And then he asked his personal bodyguard, do you have a pocket knife so we can chop the cables off? And the bodyguard had a pocket knife. I mean, they sat there personally, chopped off the cables, picked up the servers, and relocated it themselves. And that's Elon Musk for you. The man, the machine, the incredible. So, and one of my writing mentors, the fabulous guy called Nicholas Cole, actually has done some research, and he came back and posted this Twitter thread about a couple of weeks ago, saying there was a detailed study done on request from Elon Musk by um, I forget the name of the guy who actually did this. Second, I'll tell you. Okay, I forget the name of the guy. So Elon Musk actually, there was this discussion about what makes Elon Musk. And there's a famous blog, I think it's called Wait But Why. And the author of that, who founded and who runs it, actually was commissioned by Elon Musk to do whatever research he could on Elon Musk and find out how he thinks and is there a way that that model can be understood. And so he went through several, um, I think it's like I think 150 hours or 200 hours of research and finding out exactly what kind of conversations he's made, what kind of videos are available, what kind of thinking, talk to employees, former workers, partners, investors, and so on, and came back with some very fundamental things which are covered in that Twitter thread, which I converted into this video, which I'm sharing. Let's look at that. So there is something called first principles thinking that Musk is famous for. And according to that, there are two, three things that you should understand how the key enablers for Musk's thinking and therefore the success. Number one is defy convention. So basically, by that, if someone says to Musk, this is not possible, the last person who will listen to that is Musk. The first thing he will do is, well, why do you say that? And then he'll just quietly go back, build a team, do some thinking, and try to build exactly the opposite of what that person said. This another example of this comes to mind, which happened when Musk was first trying to build the rocket, the first SpaceX machine. Which when he went to when he approached NASA, they gave him a ridiculously high price, and someone suggested that it might be better that he goes to Russia because Russia has been in the space business for a long time, and they might be able to give him better prices for even used rockets. And I think at that time he was looking at a used rocket. So when Musk and his team flew to Russia and actually had a meeting with the Russian Space Agency, it appears that they did not treat them very well, from what I understand. They said something like, I don't think you'll be able to do this. I don't think you guys are qualified to do this and stuff like that. So on the way back on the plane, he started learning about rockets and propulsion and how things work and so on. And they put a team together on arrival. And that team, within I think 8 months or so, built the first reusable rocket and actually launched it. And then NASA called him later and tried to understand how he did it and said, is there any way we can work together? So this is man for you. Number two is resourceful innovator. So, when others said battery packs were impossible to scale, and I'm quoting here, Musk found creative solutions to revolution in the EV industry. So basically, if I remember correctly, again, one of the early readings, that Musk actually built a complete wall of rechargeable of battery packs, rechargeable battery packs. And when he said that, he came up with this analogy, right? He said, we can actually power the entire planet with just one large city worth of EV rechargeable battery. So, of course, there's a downside to that argument about, what is the level of eco friendliness of batteries, which are, which will take forever to decompose and can be harmful to the planet and so on. But we are doing it anyway for vehicles. So, the scale, first of all, to disrupt the current thinking of what is status quo. And the second is to create what was believed impossible at a scale that will blow you. These are the two big things that Musk is known for. And number three is he's always targeting a civilizational level change, a planetary change, quite literally, and including moving the human race to Mars, which one has to take seriously when he's saying. So I think that there is some incredible genius in this disruptive thinking that makes this man impossible to ignore. So the other thing is that he approaches challenges with a rational, systems-based perspective, which is what makes engineers drool over what he says and want to go and work with. I've had a cousin of mine who actually worked in Tesla for about 9 years, and then he exited, and he said that it's an insane place because it's so hard to keep up with the expectations. But when you come out of it, you feel so much enriched, and you feel that, hey, you know what, we're all great guys because we managed to go through this and build something. So it does something to you. It makes you a different level of a human being. That's what I understand. And look at this now, dream insanely big. This is actually a deviate option. He says that, uh, you know, uh, it is said that Elon Musk single-handedly moved the entire EV industry globally by five. That is the scale at which and you know, it also works with speed, right? It's not just a large amount of scale that's executed at, you know, over a orangutanly slow decade. It happens many times in months. Revolutionized space, and I talked about that. We already launched 400 plus rockets, and I think, if I remember correctly, the SpaceX overall plan is to launch either 13 or 14,000 rockets. And because of the scale at which it's happening, the fact that it has become now reusable rocket, reusable engines, and launch system, the whole thing becomes an economic possibility. That he says with confidence that by 2026 or 27, we'll actually have some people going to Mars. Uh, and you can't take that lightly when Musk says it. Artificial intelligence. Last week I was reading about this amazing thing that was said by Jensen Huang, the founder of CEO of NVIDIA, who said that he was mind blown when he found out that the first 100,000 H100s that Elon Musk had ordered was already deployed, and he's already placing an order for the next version, which is I believe G200 or something. And he said that Jensen Huang says that he had never imagined that scale, that speed of execution at that scale. So I believe these are powering the Grok, which is his AI engine, and he's already done that. Now, if someone like Jensen Huang, who is, you know, who someone like Jensen Huang is talking about this, then you can imagine how real the whole thing is. Now, let's quickly look at the next one. So, yeah, build a mission-driven culture. So, mission-driven culture is really what, holds people together because, much against popular wisdom, uh, engineering minds are rarely kept held together by perks such as, uh, increased salaries and more competition. And of course, that helps. I'm not saying no, but it is usually the challenge of the job that keeps them together. And if you can have an incredible team together by giving them more and more challenges, they feel that the stretching of the mind and capability that they never thought possible before is well worth the effort and whatever comes with it. And they actually start delivering. And then I think that level of transformation only some people can engineer and some people can drive and make it reality. And most of this is not, unlike, I have to make this comment, unlike I've seen some of the earlier interviews of Larry Ellison, Mark Zuckerberg, and others of the earlier generation, right? Mark, I think, if I remember right, Larry Ellison was the founder and CEO of Oracle, and now I think chairman of the board. I believe he was also one of the world's richest people at, that time, maybe 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. Not that it is important, but the point I'm making is we rarely saw civilizational survival of human race, growth of human race, um, humanity, pro-humanity type thinking or vision ever. I never saw that. I never saw that from, although they were so-called extremely wealthy guys and they made it big and so on. Most of it was always the investment, the vision was always about putting a laptop on every desk, putting, in case of Intel, putting, a database link into every corporate desk on the planet, stuff like that, which was very limited, if you ask me. It was never extending into how humanity can be saved, how humanity can be progressed. And in the case of Twitter acquisition, one of the things that Elon Musk said was that he said, we do not want wokeism to actually destroy the planet. We want to make sure that honest communication is running somewhere. So there could be, I'm sure there are other views to this, and it may have been a pure commercial thing, whatever. I think the level of truth is that if you have 80% of the staff out and still the company runs well, something was going wrong there. Um, let's go ahead and see what else was said. So, how you obsess over systems. This is an analytic approach, and there's a five-step optimization process. I will not get into this because, frankly, I do not know, too much to talk about five-step optimization process. I think you have to go back and check the actual research to see exactly what they were up to. But I thought this was very cool. You know what? And this is, I think, I'll definitely be missing if I don't talk about it. One of the places where Musk has said, there is no need to protect your identity. And here we are not talking about cyber identity or protection. We're not talking about. We're talking about the false mask that we all wear on ourselves. So we keep the self aloof, we wear a mask on top of it to impress people. So basically, he's saying, look, if as long as you're wearing that, you're not carefree. You do not have an experimental mindset because you're all the time, all your resources, energy, bandwidth, time is being spent in protecting that mask, protect that identity. The first thing you should lose is you should shed this identity attachment, and then you're willing to do things. For example, uh, don't forget, Musk actually, when he sold, you remember, he was a founder, a co-founder of PayPal, and when he sold the company, I think it was 300 million or so, whenever that was. I don't remember the year, but when he sold the company, Musk actually moved after paying the investors and whatever split he got. I think there was a co-founder, may have been his brother, and he had, I think, one of his professors was also an investor, if I remember right. So whatever money he got, like 95% of that, he invested into Tesla within a week of exiting PayPal. Now, the people talk about taking a year off, cooling it, go to the beach, and want to exit and want a cool off time. This man has no cool off time. He was ready to start Tesla the next day. So he's got already a series of, you know, planetary scale projects like the the boring machine. I think the boring machine is what it was. And he wanted to actually create this hyperloop, remember? So these are all absolutely, I mean, they stretch and take the human imagination to an entirely new level. And that's the kind of person he is. So if you are attached, super attached to a technology or project you're doing, you will not be able to move from a fintech business to a rockets business, to an energy business, to an automotive business, to a public locomotion business. So that means that you're a versatile personality. You're not attaching yourself to one thing as if life depended on it. That's a very, very big takeaway for me, for example. Fearless of judgment. I mean, he doesn't care. People say, he openly says that sometimes he doesn't have a house. Yeah, I don't know what the truth is today, but he says, I don't have a house and I sleep anywhere. Sometimes he sleeps in the office, sometimes he sleeps in his friends' places and so on. So, he doesn't care what people think. One might argue and say, look, when you have this, $200 billion, it's okay to not care what people think. But I don't think that's really it. He's been that way even earlier. So I think that is a very fundamental thing we need to understand and approach. Relentless hunger. So, we already talked about that one. Um, what is the Elon Musk phenomenon? I mean, he's a visionary, totally an unconventional thinking, and entirely enigmatic personality. So, when all your trillions or 100 trillion neurons and your, body organ cells are firing on all cylinders, and you're talking about scale at which you're saving an 8 billion race and stuff like that. I think the dynamics is something entirely different. That's what we are seeing here. So I'm super impressed by whatever is happening here with this guy, and I openly say that this guy is like insane. So this is, I think, a summary slide. I will just do this and then end this. Lessons from what we call the Elon universe, and this entire thing is picked up from the thread, thanks to Nicholas Cole uh, and whoever researched this. First principle thinking, reason from the ground up based on facts, not conventional wisdom. Always challenge the conventional wisdom. Number two, dream insanely big. Envision projects at civilization level endeavors, driving relentless innovation. Number three, create a mission-driven culture. Ignite passion in your team by tackling humanity's biggest challenges. Become obsessed with systems because at this kind of scale, there's not much you can do without systems. You need to have a large amount of system engineering, systems type thinking to make sure that this can happen because you can't build scale of anything without systems. Because humans hit the limit far earlier in the game and it becomes worthless. Live life like a video game. This is really what he was saying when he talked about drop your identity. Because in video games, you wear new avatars and you do new things. Right? And you're willing to experiment, try new things all the time. So this is actually the last slide. I'm absolutely, I'm super bowled over by a personality like Elon Musk. Sometimes I think we should have more Elon Musks to keep the planet going. And I hope this inspires you to challenge conventional thinking. Whenever someone says this is impossible, think about it. I mean, I'm not saying you should try and solve every problem, but if it's directly in your business and someone is saying this is not possible, maybe you should go back and think, why are people saying this? Is this something I can do? And I wish the Elon Musk type energy continues to drive millions of entrepreneurs like you and helps the planet become a better place. All the best. Take it easy. God bless.